Limitless Wrestling fans, another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, the first of 2020. Jon Alba here with the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Randy Carver. Reluctantly, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Jon Alba.
How'd you spend your New Year's?
I was sick, actually. I've been sick for
so I've heard.
2 weeks now. So I had the day before New Year's, I actually felt great, and I went out and did a bunch of shit. And then on New Year's itself, I felt terrible. So it's been just something I couldn't shake, and I think everybody's kind of in that boat right now. At least up here, I know you're living large, probably 60, 70 degrees there right now.
60, 70 degrees. Yeah, it's more or less around there. It's a cold front tonight.
What's a cold front for you?
A low of, I think the low's 48 tonight.
That's horse shit. It's 29 right now.
I mean, look, I make fun of everyone here because they all carry their... I was out shooting a football game. It was 63 degrees out at night, and someone had, like, their bed comforter wrapped around them in the stands. And I mean, I make fun of that. I've been in the trenches, you know. I get it. Of course. So I sympathize with you there. I do, genuinely. Yeah. But that's why you got to come down to Florida. Check it out. You know, you watch Big Mouth, right?
Oh, yeah.
So did you watch the Florida episode?
I haven't yet.
Okay. Well, there's a song called Everything Goes in Florida, and it is 100% accurate. Speaking of Florida, before we kind of dive in here to this big episode of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast, you know some people who are coming down to Florida WrestleMania weekend working some shows. Anyone you want to put over right now? Yeah.
To my knowledge, I believe the Main State Posse plan to go down to Florida this year for WrestleMania weekend. I'm sure a lot of the Limitless Wrestling roster plans to head down. So I'm hoping to see them on a lot of shows.
Yeah, no doubt. I even though I've gone to war with the members of MSP, it will be nice to see them if I get an opportunity. No doubt about that. If anything, just to remind Danger Kid that Mac Daniels beat him. But anyway, hey, man, it's the Limitless Wrestling Awards reveal show.
Finally.
We teed it up. We were going to bring it to you earlier, but then Randy decided to have the itis, and here we are. So, Randy, we are ready to go here. I know that you told me you were overwhelmed by the amount of votes that came in for this.
I was. Legitimately, every category had anywhere between like 430 and 500 votes per category. So I didn't anticipate this much activity. I'm really glad that we had it because it made for some close categories when it was all said and done. But I spent a lot of my Christmas week counting these because I didn't want to do this on Twitter. I didn't want to centralize it to only one form of social media that people could vote on. So that's why we did it through the website. So everybody, whether people only had Facebook or Instagram or whatever, they could find a way to go to the website and vote. And I think that's why we had such a good turnout this year in the polls for people voting, is because it was easily accessible. And we got a lot of good reviews on how this was structured. So I think we'll do the same thing next year. But it did make for a long few days of counting up these votes, every single vote. But I'm happy it's over and very interested to get rolling in these categories because I think there's going to be some surprises for people.
See, I think this only gives credence to the fact that we need to do a fan stipulation show. I think
I'm with you.
We need our Cyber Sunday because this proves the fans will vote.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was just so many, especially the first day, there were hundreds of votes within the first, hour or two. So I definitely think that'd be a fun thing to do.
I love it. I certainly love it. Well, let's begin with the Let's Wrestle MVP. Let's Wrestle big show coming up this week. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, and I promise you it will be worth sticking around for. This one was a super tight vote. The winner decided by just two votes.
That's incredible. Yeah, and this was the closest category because we had three people within 20 votes of each other, the top three within 20 votes. So this was really anyone's race right down to the wire.
No doubt about it. We had... How do you want me to do this? Do you want me to reveal who came in last place? What do you want? Okay, all right.
I think we reveal in last. Okay. We can reveal the vote amounts too.
So we will if you came in last, maybe it'll give you a little motivation here to really kick it into high gear for 2022. BRG, Brett Ryan Goslin, with 35 votes. Mac Daniels, a travesty, 50 votes. Calvin Strange, 103. And then edging out the other, 122 to 120, your Let's Wrestle MVP of 2019, the Masshole, Mike McCarthy. First off, people, how did you get this so wrong? And second off, what a year for Mike McCarthy in Let's Wrestle.
Absolutely. Davey N coming in second with 120 votes. And I think for BRG and Mac Daniels to start at the bottom, I just don't think they did enough this year in Let's Wrestle. Obviously, BRG didn't come into the fold again until about early summer, and Mac Daniels obviously making his debut in April. So both those two not with a full year of Let's Wrestle competition, but Mike McCarthy just edging out Davey N by 2 votes. And I was shocked because I really thought it'd come down to the 2 champions throughout the year. Davey N, who won the first ever Let's Rumble, was the first ever Let's Wrestle champion. Calvin Strange, who's been the champion since the end of May. But Mike McCarthy's been on a roll, man, and we saw it. He closed out the year teaming with BRG, defeating Calvin Strange and Dave Dyer, and now, just 6 days away, he could be the Let's Wrestle champion. So, big year for Mike McCarthy. He's called himself the Let's Wrestle MVP for months now, so I guess it's only fitting that he wins this category.
He's got something to back it up.
He does, and he might have a championship to back it up soon, but his fans bring the weapons this weekend. I'm really jacked for that. I think that's going to be super fun.
Certainly will. We'll get into that in just a moment. Then we had, this one I was really excited to delve into because the guy I voted for won, and I can't really blame people for voting for him. I'm a big proponent of him. Your breakout star of the year, with 128 total votes, Christian Casanova. He beats out Daniel Garcia, CJ Cruz, Alec Price, DL Hurst, and Kevin Blackwood. He won this pretty decisively, won by a little over 30 votes here. What a year for Christian Casanova. We've talked about it time and time again. And you maintain that 2020 is going to be the year that he gets his due.
I think so, and I think a lot of people were kind of scratching their heads to see Christian in this category, but I mean, it still was an up and down year in 2019 if we're talking wins and losses for Christian Casanova, but what a strong end to the year. Really put an exclamation point with the victory over Myron Reed and then entering himself into the title picture. And I mean, we just talked about Mike McCarthy potentially being the Let's Wrestle champion. Christian Casanova, by the end of January, could be the Limitless Wrestling World Champion. So
and why would you bet against him at this point?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. Everything's been rolling Christian's way for a number of months now. Really, the only blemish he's had in the past 6 months was the Vacation Land Cup, and I don't know if we can blame anyone for losing to Kevin Blackwood, especially with the momentum he had rolling into his return match. But a big year on tap, I think, for Casanova. I think a big year for every guy in this category, honestly. Garcia, Cruz, Price, Hurst, Blackwood. It was very close for second place. Within 10 votes was DL Hurst from Kevin Blackwood. But I think a lot of these guys are going to have big years on the Limitless roster moving forward.
Yeah, let's talk about DL Hurst here for a second. DL Hurst is certainly someone who he's been around, but really took the right steps forward in 2019. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and he had big opportunities presented his way and really knocked them out of the park because, DL Hurst, he was teaming with Brett Domino earlier this year. He wasn't scheduled to be at the Vacation Land Cup for anything. And really right place, right time. Brad Hollister, unfortunately, suffering an injury that took him out for the remainder of 2019. So that earned DL Hurst a spot against Ace Romero in the Vacation Land Cup semifinals. So a big opportunity that he knocked out of the park. And from there, he was able to win the scramble at Know Your Enemy. He moved into 4-way action against Gangrel, Alexander Lee, and Danhausen at Fresh Blood. Had a lot of good performances this year. Again, much like Alec Price, CJ Cruz, Daniel Garcia, I just don't think he did enough in Limitless Wrestling this year to really get the nod for breakout star in people's minds. But I think this could be a category that he could potentially win next year.
I certainly agree with that. If you're able to even get yourself nominated here this time around, imagine what the ceiling is for you at that point. I just think Christian Casanova is such an incredible performer, and I don't know, man. I think this guy has the potential, I don't want to say is going to be, but has the potential to be one of the top guys in pro wrestling. I really do believe that.
I would be shocked if he's not signed somewhere by the end of 2020.
It should happen even before that. You know,
I agree. I mean, if it's an MLW or an Evolve, or even if it's bigger than that, I don't see how this guy isn't wrestling for much larger companies than he is right now within, I don't know, a 6 to 8 month span.
We had debut of the year. This one was a runaway, as I expected it to be. Jody Threat with 40 votes, Masha Slamovich with 50 votes, Oswald Project with 68 votes, Layla Hirsch with 84, and your runaway consensus winner here, the big man, Dan Moff with 206 votes.
Yeah. We had a few categories that were blowaways, not many, but this was absolutely one of them. I expected this to be a little closer with him and Layla Hirsch.
I thought this played out exactly as I thought it would. Dan Moff's the frickin' man, and that's nothing against Layla Hirsch, but Dan Moff he was one of the biggest names on the independent circuit to never work Limitless coming into this year.
I would agree with that.
So you announce him, you put him in there against Ace Romero, and oh my God, they work magic. Who would have thought, right?
A funny, I don't know if we've told this story, but with the whole the AR Fox debacle that day at Know Your Enemy, because we had quite a few, actually 3 of these debuts on the list were at that show, Jody, Layla, and Dan Moff. We had to move some shit around because AR Fox, Christian Casanova was the original opener. So I remember going up to Dan Moff and letting him know that, I was going to give him and Ace Romero the nod to open up the show. And I don't think he was intimidated, but I definitely put him on the spot a little bit. And he absolutely delivered. And he had been someone who a lot of the Limitless locker room was going to bat for quite some time. Rich Palladino and Ace Romero especially, and you on the podcast. I mean, we had talked about it a couple times before. And just very happy that we got to get Dan Moff into Limitless Wrestling before it was too late. Now, obviously, he's signed a Ring of Honor, and I'm unsure what his future holds in Limitless Wrestling, but I'm very happy for him because he's a dude who's deserved a contract for quite some time, and I think he's going to really fit in with that roster well.
And hopefully we get to see more of him. But yeah, I mean, all these people represented. Oswald Project's your boy. He comes in 3rd place here. What can we expect from him in 2020?
Well, I mean, he's going to return on January 24th at Flirting with Disaster, and I think, schedules pending, I think he'll be a consistent part of the Limitless roster moving forward. I'm very excited to see what we can do with him. I think everybody on this list, obviously, other than Dan Moff, will, make their way to Limitless Wrestling again soon. Layla Hirsch actually just made her debut in Stardom in Japan, so she's doing some big shit right now.
They're working with New Japan now too.
Stardom,
that's
incredible,
which is awesome. Did you watch any of Wrestle Kingdom, by the way?
I'm actually starting it tonight, but I'm gonna start with Liger's match.
Which one? The final
Last
match?
Night,
okay.
The final. Yeah, I gotta watch that.
It was interesting. I guess we could talk about here. Jushin Thunder Liger retiring after just more than almost 4,000 matches, I think it was, in pro wrestling, which
That's
is
fucking insane.
Insanity. Liger, a guy you wish you could have booked on a Limitless show, I'm sure?
Yes, there was actually a point in 2018 where we had a contact and there was discussion of the potential of getting 3 to 5 promotions together and trying to set up like maybe a 2-week tour or an extended weekend of shows, but nothing could come to fruition, unfortunately. But yeah, obviously, Jushin Thunder Liger is a legend, and I think legend gets thrown around a little easily.
He is a legend. He is a legitimate legend.
The absolute definition of legend, and someone who obviously I wish we could have worked with, but man, like, what a fucking career. He's been so fun to watch for so long, and there's just, as you said, like 4,000 plus matches that you can go back and watch. I definitely recommend taking some time this week. Go watch some fucking really fun old or new Jushin Thunder Liger stuff and just appreciate what this dude was able to do for decades.
He still was having decent matches this time around. I mean, the guy's like almost 60, and he's still having solid matches in 2019, 2020.
It's incredible.
I mean, he is a living legend. I got to see him wrestle twice in person. I'm super lucky to have been able to say that. I saw his his real lone WWE match at the NXT Takeover show.
Oh, no shit, with Tyler Breeze,
with
right?
Tyler Breeze in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
which was super strange that like Liger was wrestling on a WWE pay-per-view in 2015.
That was out of left field. I was just talking to somebody about that, how out of left field that was. But like, I appreciate now,
Oh, it was awesome
that was able to happen. You know what I mean?
Oh
I really do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I've got another story about him that I'll have to share off the podcast. But it was quite an experience at a Pro Wrestling Syndicate show with Jushin Thunder Liger. He was supposed to be facing John Morrison one-on-one, and then some interesting things happened that were not part of the show. So anyway, yeah, go check that out. Wrestle Kingdom, 2 nights this year. Ospreay and Hiromu was one of the greatest high-flying matches I've ever seen in my life. And Okada and Ibushi was one of the greatest Tokyo Dome main events ever. So those 2 matches alone.
Is this the first time that they've done 2 nights?
First time they've done 2 nights. First time they've done 2 nights. I got to be honest, after night 2, I don't really think they need to do it again. It was worth experimenting. But my thought was, if you're going to do 2 nights, you do 2 normal length shows rather than 2 super shows.
Were they 2 super shows?
They were 2 super shows. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 10 hours of wrestling in 2 days.
Yeah, it makes for a long fucking couple days.
Right, exactly. But we're also getting, spoilers here, but we're also getting Suzuki Moxley out of all this. So, like, Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley, they're going to kill each other. It's going to be awesome. So I can get down with that, too. So there was certainly good stuff. And there's a big-time main event angle at the end of night 2 that I will not spoil that is pretty awesome. So go check that out if you have not. New Japan World. And it's great. Most hated of the year. So 2 things about this. One, I'd like to remind people that Randy threw me on here last second, so I didn't have a chance to really campaign, per se. But I don't really care, because I want people to fear how much they love me at the end of the day.
I was going to say, you don't have too many haters anymore.
I came in last, 17 votes, but I appreciate all 17. Joey Eastman with 42 votes. JT Dunn with 50. Jeremy Leary, 59. Alexander Lee, 70. And then your absolute runaway, not to anyone's surprise here, MJF, 230 votes. I guess the one thing that I'm just kind of surprised about is how quickly Alexander Lee jettisoned himself up the ranks here, came in second place, albeit a distant second place. Goes to show you what kind of quote-unquote heat he has developed, both in front of the Limitless audience and also the Limitless locker room.
Yeah, this was one that I felt would be a runaway with MJF. I didn't think it would be this much of a runaway, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see Alexander Lee in second, because I thought it would be Jeremy Leary for sure. Because I don't know how much you pay attention to like the posts that we put out, but anytime we'd announce Jeremy Leary for shows, people were fucking pissed. No one wanted to see Jeremy Leary except when he was getting his head shaved. So, but Alexander Lee rising up the ranks, I think the Mainstay Posse, obviously him turning on them, destroying them at the Vacation Land Cup, I think that definitely set in with a lot of people. But MJF, a clear winner, I think. I mean, we've never seen a scene like after Hooked on a Friedman, after beating Ashley Vox, the ring filled with trash and bottles that people were throwing in at him. I think MJF an obvious winner here.
And I do think it's worth saying, and I try not to use hyperbole here, like how you said, like you don't want to throw the term legend around too much. I really think that right now with MJF, and I know he calls himself greatness, but I really do think we're witnessing greatness with MJF. I think we're witnessing a modern-day Roddy Piper, who years from now we're going to talk about as one of the true transcendent talents of his era in pro wrestling on the microphone.
He is, and he's just, I mean, in an era where it's very tough to keep a persona alive or a character alive, we're seeing that week by week with MJF, and it's something special. And I think that I think a lot of people really did appreciate MJF while he was here, and appreciated how different that is to feel on an independent level, especially. So I don't know. Great to have MJF on the roster, as much of a prick as he is, and I think this is an award that he'll take with pride.
Oh yeah, he will take it. He won't care that he won, but he'll take it.
No,
It doesn't bother him. He embraces it. We got the moment of the year. This one really close to decide by just 4 votes. Coming in last place, Jeremy Leary getting his head shaved bald. Kind of surprised about that. I thought that would have.
That was up top for me. Yeah. Like I thought that would be much closer to the win.
Luchas de Apuestas in Portland, Maine is pretty cool. Chris Statlander challenging Ashley Vox. I love this. This is what I voted for. Actually, I thought that was the coolest moment of the year. Her dropping her and just the genuine shock from the crowd. That was amazing. AG winning the Vacation Land Cup with 68 votes. Alexander Lee turning on MSP with 70. Limitless making its debut at the Portland Expo. Lost by 4 votes to MJF becoming the inaugural Limitless Wrestling Champion. 2 awards so far for MJF.
A big year for MJF. This was a really tough category. I think this could have been one of the tougher categories of the entire vote because, I mean, it's obviously personal preference, but I think MJF winning the championship, I just think that the championship in general being introduced to Limitless Wrestling was just a huge moment for everyone because this has been something that people were asking for 4 years. You know just as well as I do that anytime we'd put up like a Q&A on the podcast, the first question we'd receive, when is Limitless getting a championship belt? And finally, we listened to that and we got something going, and MJF becoming the first champion, I think, is something that no one saw coming. There were rumors swirling already, when Welcome to the Dance was going on, that MJF was leaving the independents or MJF would not be available for any dates soon. So I think him winning the championship really threw people for a loop, and immediately after the championship's introduced, people are questioning what the future of the championship is. But I love this category because we had a lot of incredible moments this year. I do think that one thing that I should have included to this category and didn't, and it's my fault because I didn't think about it till the poll was already up, but the Buffalo Boys returning at the Vacation Land Cup was an extremely special moment that I 100% forgot about and did not include. But that was really an emotional show for a lot of people who have been following Limitless Wrestling for a while because, Kevin Blackwood, Daniel Garcia, a part of the Limitless family, and they had been out of action for, nearly 6 months. And Kevin Blackwood, after, slamming his head off a window in the car accident and fucking a wicked concussion, and Daniel Garcia breaking both legs, I think a lot of people assumed they wouldn't be wrestling again. And they both came back, had stellar performances, but a lot of fun moments this year. It was really fun to kind of relive all the moments that we did have when going through this category, but taking it home, as we said, MJF becoming the inaugural Limitless champ.
Well, MJF was part of the Kings tag team, and they were up for Tag Team of the Year. They actually came in last here. How about that? They came in last in this category, 47 votes for Kings. The New Heart Foundation with 53. The Butcher and the Blade with 100, and then no surprise here, the Mainstay Posse with 260 votes. MSP had a really, really rough 2018. They had a equally as fantastic 2019, didn't they?
They did. I mean, obviously the Alexander Lee departure from the group was a bit of a twist and probably not something they expected throughout this year, but just stellar 2019, not even just in Limitless Wrestling, but everywhere that they went. In my opinion, really becoming one of the top teams in the Northeast. And I think we've been saying that for years now, but I think 2019 was finally the year that people started to grasp that and started to understand that and really see how good the Mainstay Posse are. I did think this would be a little closer because the Butcher and the Blade really developed a big fan base in the Limitless Wrestling community in their short time here, and they had a hell of a year. But you can't deny everything the Mainstay Posse did throughout the year. That just the performance that I think of, the fucking Portland street fight against Brandon Kirk and Alexander Lee, just absolutely vicious, absolutely incredible. And, they had a match nominated for Match of the Year as well with the Workhorsemen. I think they could have had a few nominated for that because just incredible stuff throughout the entire year. Finishing strong, even though it was a loss, finishing strong against Anthony Green and Ace Romero. And What a cap to their year that was. But winning by 160 votes. So I think this is another category that was kind of blown out of the water. But I'm interested to see. We really want to bring in a lot of new tag teams in 2020 and really give the Main State Posse a run for their money of the tag team to beat around here.
Yeah, and it's going to take a lot to dethrone them, too. And then plus, I mean, if you include what they did in Let's Wrestle as well, they obviously were two staples of Let's Wrestle. You think we'll start to see more and more and more singles matches out of those two as the coming year progresses?
I think so. I mean, I think obviously the goal is to continue that they're the top team in Limitless Wrestling. They're the top team around here, but they got a big challenge on tap January 24th, colliding with the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions Ethan Page, Josh Alexander. If they can get past that, who knows? But I think definitely as we move into the spring, I was actually talking to them about Vacation Land Cup time. I think it'd be interesting to get them in some qualifiers. They were in the first ever Vacation Land Cup tournament back in 2018, and I definitely think you could see them tested a lot more, not just in tag team action, but singles action as well as we progress throughout the year.
We had the show of the year. This one was pretty split vote. Broke down every single Limitless show from the year. Coming in last was Snake Bitten with 26 votes. You agree with that?
Yeah, I fucking hated that show. I can't even believe 26. Dude, I was watching the votes. Early in the voting, this was fucking winning at one point. I was shaking my head because I hated this show. And I think we talked about it when the show happened. There was a lot of stuff a lot of moving parts that didn't come together. We had to move a lot of the card around due to people being late. And then I did not feel it was our most stellar performance. I felt like it was the sloppiest show of the year. And I think it definitely deserves this spot in last place. So I'm happy about that.
Fresh Blood came in second to last place. I'm a little surprised about that. I really like the Fresh Blood show.
I am too, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed the concept because Fresh Blood was basically a lot of returns, a lot of debuts,
and Gangrel.
Yeah, it was a lot of people who we hadn't had a chance to work with throughout the year, and we wanted a chance to do so before the year concluded. And I like the concept of this show. I think it's something we could bring back for 2020 because we need more shows like that where it's a fresh card. It's new people, it's returns, just different matches that we don't typically do or maybe don't have the chance to do. So I think that concept, maybe even the name, makes a return in 2020 at some point.
I'm ready for the Gangrel Gauntlet next year. It's gonna happen. I'm in it. Okay, I'm terrified. Hooked on a Friedman, followed by Welcome to the Dance, kind of rounding out the middle of the pack there.
I loved Welcome to the Dance. I thought that would be within the top 3, but I mean, it's within the top 4. I just thought for the championship match, the 4-way, Teddy Hart, Darby Allin on that show, Tommy Dreamer versus Chris Dickinson. I felt like there was a lot of good stuff on that show. I forgot
that match even happened until you just said it. Wow. What
Dreamer
a year.
Dickinson.
What a year, huh?
I know, dude. There's been some wild shit this year.
That is crazy. Then it came down to really the final 3 here. Twilight Zone, which I voted for, came in 3rd. Know Your Enemy in 2nd. And your winner, the show of the year, the Vacation Land Cup, which, given the entire situation surrounding that show, is nothing short of a miracle, Randy.
Yeah. Vacation Land Cup could have been... I mean,
everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it still pulled out the win here.
That was so stressful, honestly. And like some of these shows, I don't want to say they were a breeze, but they were much easier than others. And Know Your Enemy, I mean, the 2 most stressful shows made it to the top 2, so I guess the stress was worth it. But I voted for Twilight Zone myself. I thought I really, and sitting there that night, like after the show, I'm like, fuck, that was the show of the year. Like it was such a good show top to bottom, but I'm not saying I don't think Vacation Land or Know Your Enemy were either. But Vacation Land, I think there were such pivotal moments throughout the year in Limitless Wrestling that happened that night. We talked about earlier Alexander Lee turning his back on the Main State Posse, joining with Joe Eastman and Brandon Kirk. People were so emotional for Anthony Green winning the tournament as well. There were legitimately people crying heading out the door as the show concluded because it was such a moment for Anthony Green, who'd been someone who's busting his ass for so long in Limitless Wrestling and really the culmination of years of hard work for AG. It was a special night, and as was Know Your Enemy, because I think a lot of people were very sentimental about Limitless Wrestling, especially those who have been, with us for a long time, who finally seeing us go into, a legitimate arena, which was just a step outside of our comfort zone. But fuck, it was super cool. So, but I mean, I agree with this. I think Vacation Land Cup definitely deserves the nod here, and top to bottom, that was an excellent show. So, I don't disagree with that winning for sure.
And just think about the triumph that came out of overcoming all those problems that you had with the show, and then delivering a main event where people saw their man win, saw their guy get the W.
And one thing that was pretty cool that I don't remember if we've touched on this, but I told someone about this the other day, and they couldn't believe it. But the Sean Spears situation when he got pulled and then re-added to the show, we had already booked Tommy Dreamer as a replacement. And I told the agent I was working for, like, I'm not going to go cancel Tommy Dreamer now that he's done me a solid, just because now we can use Sean Spears. But AEW actually covered Sean Spears' rate for that night because we had already booked Tommy Dreamer. So legitimately all we ended up having to pay for was the airfare like usual. So
really, that's awesome.
That was the big that I don't know if we had talked about that yet, but
you've never revealed that here. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing for them to do, because obviously a smaller independent like us, I can't, it's a lot of money to bring in bigger names like that. And Tommy Dreamer was doing us a solid. I wasn't going to cancel on him last minute.
I don't know if we've talked about it here either, but it was Cody, correct, who was like, no, you guys need to go use him. Like he's yours.
Yeah, legitimately, I was driving home it was a day from hell because, there was nothing that we could do, to my knowledge, to get Sean Spears there and back to where he needed to be on time. And Tommy Dreamer had saved my ass. So we had put the posts out there, and it was we got a lot of traction for it because, people kind of went nuts on the fact that AEW had pulled a talent, even though he's under contract with them. And Cody messaged me personally and said, hey, Sean can do your show. The agent will be contacting you in a few. I've let him know as well. So this was a Cody call to make that arrangement happen. So a big, thank you to him. And I thanked him at that point, obviously, as well. But it was a really cool move to do because there were a lot of people who were excited to see Sean Spears, obviously, and probably was their only chance to meet him for a little while. So ended up being awesome for the Limitless Wrestling fans because they not only got to see Sean Spears, but they got to see Tommy Dreamer again for the second time this year.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
It ended up being awesome for our fans, yeah.
Match of the year. This one was a pretty tight vote, too. Ace Romero versus Dan Moff picks up 45 votes. Unsanctioned, Ashley Vox versus Chris Statlander picks up 87 votes, rather. MSP versus the Workhorsemen, maybe the best tag team match in Limitless history, 92 votes. Last Creature Standing, Ashley Vox versus Chris Statlander, 100 votes. That, of course, was the main event of Twilight Zone. And then your winner, the Fatal 4-Way, JT Dunn, Ace Romero, Anthony Green, MJF for the championship, 128 votes. I can't say that I confidently thought the Fatal 4-Way was going to win this, Randy.
I didn't. I thought it was going to be Last Creature Standing for sure. There was so much buzz. I think it might have been just because that was the most recent. But there was so much buzz from that match, especially going into this voting. I really thought Last Creature Standing was going to take it home. Unsanctioned made quite a run, in the last day or two, because that was sitting around 50 votes for a while and made quite a run, but didn't make up enough ground to get into the top three. But a big win here, and I think, again, the stakes of the first ever Limitless Wrestling Championship match meant a lot to people. I think people legitimately went into that match not knowing who was going to win, and I mean, that match is up for free, too, as well on youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling if you want to take a look if you haven't yet. But an exceptional match, so much fun, and I think an ending that no one truly saw coming. But I definitely think this is a rightful winner of this category. Tough competition because I think really any of these matches could have taken it home.
Yeah, and maybe it's that Ashley Vox and Chris Statlander split votes here. Because if you put their combined vote total, they win pretty handily.
I definitely think so, but I also think you couldn't keep one of these matches off, because I really believe that both the Unsanctioned and Last Creature Standing, if we're talking top 5 matches of the year, they're both in it.
I mean,
and obviously they're both, second and fourth place in the voting.
I mean, hey, over at Living the Gimmick, we just did our year-end awards, which had some decade awards, and we did Pro Wrestling Match of the Decade, and we had all 4 Okada Omega matches up there, and none of them won because they all ended up splitting votes because they were so awesome and people couldn't choose.
What ended up winning?
I was actually really, really surprised with the winner. I did not expect this one. It ended up being The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 26, the career versus streak match.
Oh, no shit. Wow.
I thought if the Omega Okada matches weren't going to win because they were going to split votes, I thought for sure people were going to vote Cena versus Punk at Money in the Bank. I thought for sure. And I could make the argument for it. Maybe not the greatest in-ring match of all time, but when in pro wrestling history have we had a match where people genuinely had no idea how it was going to end? Like complete, just in the dark. I got no clue how this one's playing out. So
yeah.
So I would have made the argument.
Can't get that a lot.
But I also can't knock Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Even though honestly, I don't know how you feel, but I prefer their first match over that one. I prefer 25 over 26.
Oh really?
Where JR did I had a out of body experience. That one's probably my personal favorite between the two of them. But 26 is great too. You can go check that whole show out at Living the Gimmick on any single podcast distribution site that you may use. We did Pro Wrestler of the Decade, Pro Wrestler of the Year, all that good stuff. And we had the Wrestler of the Year. By the way, real quick, are we ever going to get a Limitless Wrestling wedding? That seems to be the hot topic of pro wrestling this week.
Fuck no. Okay. I don't think so.
No wedding angle?
Who the fuck wants to get married at Limitless Wrestling?
There are probably... You say that right now, but I guarantee you, Randy, there are some devoted Limitless Wrestling fans out there who would very much be down to be joined in holy matrimony during intermission of a Limitless Wrestling show.
Well, fuck. I'd make that happen for sure. I'm just saying we're not going to have fucking bullshit weddings out here with fucking run-ins and all the, but if someone legitimately wanted to get married at a show, we'd make it fucking happen in style.
We do weddings, we do bar mitzvahs, we do everything.
I guess we do. We're limitless. What the fuck?
Pro Wrestler of the Year. In 5th place, Ace Romero. In 4th place, MJF. Your top 3 here. With 79 votes, Ashley Vox. With 125 votes, Chris Statlander, meaning the winner. By 25 votes, the retrosexual Anthony Green, the Limitless Wrestling champion, the winner of the Vacation Land Cup. Tremendous year for AG. I made the argument on our last episode for Chris Statlander. It was neck and neck for these two. AG edges her out. What do you think?
They were legitimately going back and forth between first and second place until the very last day. Anthony Green had a rush of votes within the last 2 days that propelled him over Chris Statlander. But I really think, anyone on this list you could have made an argument for. Chris Statlander, a hell of a way to end her year. But Anthony Green, since July, untouchable in Limitless Wrestling competition, winning the Vacation Land Cup, defeating Sean Spears, Tommy Dreamer, Kevin Blackwood, JT Dunn, Ace Romero throughout that night. Then moving on to Know Your Enemy, defeating MJF to become the Limitless Wrestling World Champion, defending against Josh Briggs, teaming with Ace Romero to defeat the Mainstay Posse. You can't deny that success. It's been a huge year for Anthony Green, not even just in Limitless Wrestling, obviously becoming a signed member of the Evolve roster. I'm super happy for him, and I think he deserves this. I think truly anyone on this list could have deserved a win here, but 150 votes. That's a lot of people pulling for you, and a big year for Anthony Green. And I'm excited to see what he does this year. I'm excited to see who's in this category next year, because I think this category is going to look a lot different in 2020. Obviously, no MJF. Ace Romero now involved with Impact Wrestling. Who knows how long he'll be around. Ashley Vox with NWA, Chris Statlander, AEW, Anthony Green with Evolve. These guys are, they're moving on up. So it's going to be interesting to see on the Limitless roster who's going to take that step up and take these spots.
Plus people like Josh Briggs, obviously.
Yeah, Josh Briggs, I just like Anthony Green, a signed member of the Evolve roster. I mean, it's a changing time, and we've been saying this for months now, but it's a pivotal time, but a changing time in Limitless Wrestling. So it's going to be a lot of fun this year to see, who's the next crop of guys and girls who are going to step up and take these positions.
All right, let's talk about Let's Wrestle. Can't wait to talk about this. Saturday, January 11th. That's this Saturday. It's time to rumble. Let's Rumble 2020. Let's Wrestle set its attendance record last show. Going to try to top that this time. And it is a card that is certainly worthy of it. No doubt about it. Let's dive headfirst into this. First off, Randy, Let's Rumble. What are your expectations?
Well, I think this is the funnest event of the year for Let's Wrestle. It really sets the pace for our year in Let's Wrestle. The Let's Rumble is our version of the Royal Rumble. 30 competitors from the Let's Wrestle roster entered into this contest. You're going to see Limitless Wrestling wrestlers. You're going to see wrestlers from Let's Wrestle, as well as students from the Limitless Dojo entered in this competition. And 30 competitors over the top rope. Both feet must touch the floor. The last person standing becomes the new number one contender for the Let's Wrestle Championship. So I'm very intrigued.
Yeah.
We had a lot of surprise entrants last year. Who knows what could go down this year?
Yeah, you never know. And you informed me, and I tweeted about it. I'm not going to say. There is a major surprise entrant in this Rumble. Maybe the biggest get in Let's Rumble and Let's Wrestle history. Quite possibly.
You've been putting it over a lot more than me, but yeah, there's a few surprise entrants that are confirmed.
I don't know. I genuinely believe this may be the biggest get in Let's Wrestle history.
It could be.
I think that alone should sell the show to people. Okay.
Okay.
And if you know me well, you probably have a good idea who I'm talking about here, because I've hinted at them on this show in the past. So you should get a good idea on that. So again, 30 people enter. One person will win. There will be a minute increment between spots, correct?
Yeah, so the first two competitors are out there for a minute and a half, and then once entrant 3 hits, it's a minute between every entrant. Your boy Mac Daniels has been confirmed to be in it. Danger Kid, Aiden Agro, CJ Cruz, DL Hurst.
Randy, I
yes.
swear to God, if you screw Mac Daniels in this match, if Johnny Torres screws Mac Daniels in this match, this guy just main evented your last show. If this guy gets dealt a crappy number, or if you stick him in there and Eric Greenleaf is the referee that's watching him and says that he was eliminated when he wasn't, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure Mac Daniels can handle his business.
He can.
Okay, then fucking tell him to do it. He could win the Rumble. Who knows?
Well, also on the show, we got the Ava Everett Birthday Bash Open Challenge. What does this mean?
Well, Ava Everett, to start with, was pissed at me for not naming the show after her because it is her birthday this Saturday. So we're going to make some arrangements. We're going to have a little birthday bash for her. We may get some party hats and a fucking cake. I'm going to put Eric Greenleaf in charge of finding a cake.
Why would you do that?
Because I'm a busy guy.
But Eric he's an idiot.
I mean, he could find. I mean,
I'm sure the dirty drifters can sift through some dumpsters and find something.
No, they'd eat it, dude. Greenleaf, I don't think he'll get it in one piece.
That's true. They have literally starved for 3 months. So yeah, I get it.
Well, regardless, Ava Everett, we're gonna have a little birthday bash for her, but she's got an open challenge on the table. Anyone on the roster who wants to step up, they can do so. So I'm interested to see who will wrestle Ava Everett at Let's Rumble. She's also going to be in the Let's Rumble as well.
We got a tag team match. Kenny Lee, Alexander Lee, and Candy Copeland versus a little reunion here. BRG and Malik Logan teaming up for the first time in a while together.
I'm excited for this. This is the first time in a while they've teamed up. But BRG and Malik Logan were a pretty prominent tag team around the Central Maine area for a few years. And BRG really made a presence for himself in Let's Wrestle over the past year. Malik Logan, recently returning, actually brought back to Let's Wrestle by the Stigma to collide with the Syndicate a few months ago. So after an impressive performance there, he makes his return, tag team action, and both BRG and Malik Logan will be in Let's Rumble as well. So could be a big night for either of them.
First time ever, Devin Blaze and Danger Kid.
This is a lot of fun for longtime Limitless fans because Devin Blaze was actually like an OG Limitless Wrestling talent. He was in the first ever Limitless Wrestling match, a 4-way tag as one half of the Minutemen. Devin Blaze has been out of wrestling, though, for about a year, maybe a little over, a year and a half area. This is one of his first matches back, and I'm very excited for this one because this is a singles match we wanted to do for quite some time, but obviously couldn't because we honestly thought that Devin Blaze's wrestling career could be over. So Danger Kid really, really lobbied for this when he heard that Devin Blaze was coming back, and I'm happy we were able to set it up so quick. Here's
a match I can't wait for. Singles match between CJ Cruz and DL Hurst. Nothing on the line per se, except, hey, you win this match, you're opening some eyes in Let's Wrestle.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big, positioning match in Let's Wrestle because I think both these guys with a victory, they could be in line for a Let's Wrestle championship match down the road. This is actually a rematch from a Limitless Dojo taping that we had early last year before we were using CJ Cruz on Let's Wrestle shows. He actually wrestled DL Hurst at the dojo and earned himself a spot on future Let's Wrestle shows. So it's interesting for those who have been following those dojo tapings on YouTube or maybe following Let's Wrestle. This is kind of a fun rematch that we're finally able to put in front of a crowd on a live show. And, a win here could mean a lot for either competitor.
A fatal 4-way for the number 30 spot in the Rumble. I guess this is kind of supplementing the Cluster Jam for this show. I don't know how Mac Daniels is not in this match, but Aiden Agro versus Davian versus Alec Price versus Scott Wilde. So after you care to explain to me why Mac Daniels isn't in this match, given that he main evented your last show, why don't you talk about this one?
Did he win that match?
He main evented and showed up against a WWE alum, okay?
And he lost.
He main evented and, in your words, impressed the hell out of you.
He did, but he did not get a spot in this fatal 4-way for the number 30 spot. I think it's all deserving people, those who have really won a lot of their matches recently. Davian, obviously, the winner of the first ever Let's Rumble last year, the first ever Let's Wrestle champion. Aiden Agro, one half of the Main State Posse. Alec Price coming off a victory against Jason Rumble, and Scott Wilde. He's won numerous cluster jams throughout the year of 2019, so he hopes to start it off with a victory here, earning the number 30 spot. But obviously, this is a huge match for all four of these competitors. Number 30 obviously gives you a distinct advantage in the Let's Rumble match, so very interested to see who walks out of this with a number 30 spot.
And again, we have the Rumble, and then fans bring the weapons for the Let's Wrestle Championship. Calvin Strange and Mike McCarthy. This is going to get cray at the American Legion Post 84. Mike McCarthy not afraid of anything. Calvin Strange certainly at a champion's disadvantage here.
Yeah, Calvin Strange in a tough position because on top of this being fans bring the weapons, Mike McCarthy was able to pick all the stipulations for this contest. He banned Dave Dyer from ringside, and if Dave Dyer comes out, he will lose his spot in the Let's Rumble match later in the night. So there's no way Dave Dyer is getting involved. Calvin Strange, this is the first time he's really been taken outside of his comfort zone in a match with really no rules other than his whipping boy cannot come out and help him. So finally we get a fair, one-on-one match with Mike McCarthy getting the challenge for the Let's Wrestle Championship for potentially the last time. So a lot riding on this match for both competitors, and I'm super excited. Fans Bring the Weapons are a lot of fun all the time.
Have you seen on social media Dave Dyer and I have been going at it?
Yeah, I see you guys are big fans of each other.
There's legitimate heat here.
Oh, yeah?
This guy, he's literally ripping me off. Journalist trying to take on the pro wrestling world? Are you kidding me?
Except he actually wrestles and you just bitch.
I have 3 matches under my belt, and I have over-exceeded expectations in all of them.
Okay. I mean, I believe you. Sure.
I mean, my God, give me some credit. In fact, I've been in a Royal Rumble before, and I did really well in it. I eliminated Frank Yeager.
Wow. Did you really?
Yeah, I freaking hit him with an attitude adjustment.
Oh, my God. Jon Alba, professional wrestler.
It was unbelievable. The crowd went crazy.
I'm sure they did. They've never seen an attitude adjustment like that, I'm sure.
It was unbelievable. It was a moment in time. And let me tell you, you would be lucky, Randy, if I ever graced you with my presence in a Let's Wrestle or a Limitless ring. But people aren't ready for that. And I get it, okay? I get it. You'd be lucky. Lucky. But I'm telling you, I know about a surprise entrant in this match, and it is going to blow the roof off the American Legion Post 84. That's why you got to go get your tickets. GA tickets still available. I'm telling you guys, it is going to be worth it. This show is going to be awesome. If you're a Limitless fan who's never checked out Let's Wrestle, go make that drive up I-95 and go check it out.
Yeah, this is in my opinion, probably one of the best shows.
Well, especially since we get so many questions on this podcast about when's Limitless going to have a battle royal? When are we doing that? Well, here's your chance. You're going to see some Limitless talent in this match.
Yeah, as we said, the Mainstay Posse, Dave Yen, Alec Price, Scott Wilde, CJ Cruz. I mean, a lot of people who are familiar with the Limitless Wrestling audience. But, I mean, I said it on Twitter earlier this week. You're really seeing the future of Limitless Wrestling in Let's Wrestle. And I think that was really proven throughout the year of 2019. We saw the Vacation Land Cup, Channing Thomas, Lil Blake, Covey Christ all make their debut. Those are all, guys who started in Let's Wrestle. And then later throughout the year, Masha Slamovich, CJ Cruz, Alec Price, all people who made a name for themselves and really got on our radar in Let's Wrestle. So you could really be seeing the future of Limitless Wrestling here, and I think you will, because you look at this card, CJ Cruz versus DL Hurst, that fatal four-way for the number 30 spot, Kenna Lee versus BRG and Malik Logan. I mean, there's a lot of Limitless talent on this show already, and a lot of talent who I think you could see there within the next couple months.
No doubt about it. Head on out. That's this Saturday at the American Legion Post 84. Share the podcast. Subscribe. We'll see you later, folks.